Good afternoon, everyone. We're so excited to be with you today. Happy Election Day to everyone. It is November 8th. It is Election Day. We want to make sure that you have got out to vote already. For those that have not voted yet, you may have not been to the polls. Please get to the polls. Exercise your right and your privilege to vote today. Your vote counts, and everything is riding on this election, whether you're in New York City area or New York State or another area, your vote is very important. So we want to make sure you get out to vote. And we have a special, amazing powerhouse with us today, Rai King. She is phenomenal. Fire sister that I'm telling you is doing amazing, great things. Black woman in leadership and in power that's going to be bringing some amazing insight to us as Black women that are watching and that are listening. I told you we're going to dig deep. We're going to glean from the amazing Rai King, hear from her story, and the things that she's been able to overcome as a Black woman in leadership. We're so happy to have her. We're going to get started in just a second. And if you're watching us from LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, we definitely want to acknowledge you. So go ahead and show us some love. Put a comment down below. Share this message as well. We want to get this message out to as many Black women. And thank you again so much for watching. All right, let's get started. Great King, we are so excited to have you with us today. I know that you're super busy, woman in leadership. You travel. You have five amazing children, two of which are in college, and
Mhm.
so be anywhere. But you decided to be with us today, and we're so grateful to have you. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing a space with us, Ray.
Yes, I'm always glad to be with you, Shanequa. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're gonna jump right in. We have so much to talk about and such little time, but I think I thought it not robbery for us to have this segment on election day.
Mhm.
Obviously, people are hopefully out there in the polls, exercising their right to vote and ensuring that their vote is cast and their voice is heard. But I also think this is important time that we as Black women are lifting up the things that are important to us and that are relevant to us, especially in leadership. And so I'm excited to be able to dissect a lot of the issues that we encounter and that we go through, and to also just talk about some ways that we can overcome them as women of color. And I think just gleaning from your wisdom, Ray, from your leadership is going to help many Black women that are listening that are probably in very similar situations. So I'm excited. But let's start by actually formally going through your bio. I want to formally introduce you. I know many already know Ray. For those that don't know her, you'll get to know her because she is a powerhouse. Ray King is an educator, she's an entrepreneur, she's a philanthropist, and a nonprofit leader. She graduated from Spelman College. Shout out to all the Spelman alumni. With a degree in early childhood development, and from Arizona State University with a Master of Arts in Curriculum and Instruction. Ray was an elementary school teacher for 16 years. She is a educator, y'all. She's an educator straight just by genuine passion and love. She's a teacher's teacher. Ray often jokes that she has taught in every way possible to teach from public to private to parochial and charter schools, which now also leading a charter school position now to homeschool and even international schools. That's amazing. Ray has served as a nonprofit professional for several years, including working as an instructional coach for City Year New York and as the founding equity and learning director for the site. As an entrepreneur, she and her family own and run business and media, education, and coaching services where Ray enjoys combining best industry practices with responsible and emotionally intelligent human development. I love that. You need to like patent that. That's awesome. Um, Ray is currently the chair of the board of directors for Read 718, a Brooklyn-based nonprofit providing reading services to low-income students. She also co-hosts the Woman at Work. Is that correct? The
Both at
WOC
work. It's a
podcast.
play on words. We do WOC for women of color, but we just call it woke
Ah,
at
I
work.
love it. Woke at Work. I love that podcast, which provides a safe place for women of color to share their stories of leading in professional workspaces. In addition to being a wife and a mother of five, Ray is a doctoral student and she's graduating, y'all. She's almost there. Um, at Vanderbilt University, where she studies organizational development and leadership. That I mean, you're looking at the what a Black woman in leadership should exemplify. Ray King, and I know you just currently took a new position at Amber Charter School. So if you also want to speak to that as well, that'd be great. But welcome, Ray. I'm so happy to have you. I really, truly um, believe that you are my sister, and I appreciate you. You are a role model to so many Black women, and it's an honor to just chat with you for a few minutes. So welcome,
First
Ray.
of all, Shanequa, I am so sorry that you had to read that long bio. I thought it was just going to be like posted somewhere. I would have just given you just like 3 lines to say had I known you were going to have to read that. So my bad.
Actually, I love reading bios because I feel like it's important for people to know the legacy that you're leaving and the trails that you've been blazing over time. So
No.
and it's also a good reminder because being able to see all the things that you're working on and that you've been doing is definitely inspiring for me as a Black woman in leadership as well. But it's so great to have you. So there's anything I left out that you wanted to mention and just sort of lift up?
No, like I think whoever that bio is talking about, I know it's talking about me, but honestly, I'm experiencing a little bit of imposter syndrome right now. I'm like, what?
No.
Like you're saying all these wonderful things about me that I think are maybe half true.
Oh
So
my,
you've said plenty. So thank you.
I actually, since you said that, it's interesting because imposter syndrome. Some people may or may not know what the imposter syndrome is, but we were just having a conversation about this, Ray. I want to say yesterday, I was in a meeting and I was so drained. Oh my goodness, it was with two
Mhm.
Black women in leadership. They run two large influential agencies in New York City, and we were just talking and connecting. And all of a sudden, one of the girls actually said, she's like, I suffer from imposter syndrome. And she's a woman of color and power. And the other woman of color and power was like, yeah, I do too. And they started just talking candidly about some of the issues that they're facing. And imposter syndrome is so real in Black women. We
Yeah.
often feel, like there's this almost like this inferiority complex sometimes that we have, and and this is not really in the script, but wondering, what are your thoughts about that? What do you think about like how prevalent that is amongst Black women like us that may feel, sometimes that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, imposter syndrome is um it can be really tricky. And I think that it's something that, while Black women certainly experience it, and, I don't know if there's research on this, um, on high levels, it's something that lots of people deal with actually, where you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in this space. It's only a matter of time um, before people find out that I am not as capable as they think I am. I don't actually belong here. I don't have smart things to say. I don't have insights to give. And, I've been entrusted with this, level of leadership or opportunity, and I'm about to be found out, and that's basically what imposter syndrome entails. And I've certainly dealt with it. You talked about, you mentioned me being the chair of the board of directors for Read 718, which is a wonderful organization. But I came into that organization as a volunteer when I first moved to Brooklyn. I was a volunteer tutor because, I mean, teaching, education, tutoring, that's what I know. That's where I never feel like an imposter, is in the classroom.
Ah,
But yeah, but the minute I was asked to step outside of that
mhm,
and
mhm,
join the board of directors, and then a year later chair the board of directors,
mhm.
um, and let's just say, like, I was the only Black person on the board. I was the
Wow.
youngest person on the board. Everybody else on there had these, long developed careers,
Mhm.
some Wall Street and all these places. And I'm like, here I am, little old me, little Black girl from the South with still a very heavy Southern accent in Brooklyn, being asked to, like, lead people who know way more about boards and responsibilities and all of this than I do. And that, I felt like such an imposter. I was like, they're going to realize this was a mistake. They only gave this to me because I am their token Black person. I mean, just all the things,
Right.
running through my mind. And I finally had to get to the place where, I realized that, first of all, regardless of what anybody outside of me thought about me, I couldn't
Mhm.
control that. If there was
Okay.
anybody on the board that thought that I shouldn't be in that position, there was nothing I could do about that. Now,
Mhm.
here, let me tell you, they're wonderful people. Nobody thought that I shouldn't be
Right.
chair of the board of directors. They were wonderful people. Like the best board I could possibly serve on. But I got to a place where I had to realize, like, there are unique strengths and gifts that I bring to any table that I sit in when I
Mhm.
show up authentically. And that's going to have to be good enough. And rather than trying to be what I think I'm supposed to be,
Right.
operating in what I know to be my strengths, um, is how I'm going to be successful in this role, and it's how I have been successful in that role. And so that's how I think imposter syndrome is more about your own self-talk. I don't
Right.
necessarily think there's anything that other people can say to you to make you feel like you belong. For me, at least for me, it was a journey of my own self-actualization, and what I was able to tell myself about my abilities. And so, yeah, it's very real,
Right.
but it's something that can be overcome for sure.
That's so I love that, your journey of self-actualization, what that looks
Mhm.
like. But I'm wondering, other women of color that may be listening and watching may not have never heard of imposter syndrome. So thank you for breaking it down in the way in which you did. But what you talked about was really the struggle with being your authentic self. And I think that sometimes we talked a little bit about this, but it was about our kids. But sometimes Black women may feel the need, especially in leadership, to code switch. And when you're
Yeah.
code switching, you're obviously not being your authentic self, but you're trying to be the self that you feel like is going to be accepted in the institution or the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed, my career and watching other women of color, a Black woman namely, the need to code switch in order to fit in. And so if you're code switching, are you being your authentic self? Are you really coming to the table bringing who you are? And if you're not, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I think that it's fair for us to understand that all of us have kind of multiple selves, if you will. Like, my kids make fun of me because they know when I'm on the phone having a business call, because my voice is different, the way I speak is different. And they call me out on that all the
Yeah,
time,
my daughter
and
does the
yeah, and so but I think that's okay. I think that we all understand that there's a way that we present ourselves in certain situations that may be different than other situations. When I'm talking to my, down south girlfriends, I'm gonna drop my G's at the end of my words, and I'm gonna say ain't and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But I might not necessarily speak that same way if I'm in a
Mhm.
job interview, and
Right.
so I don't necessarily think that that type of situation is a question of authenticity. I think it's about just, hey, knowing the situation and the room that you're in and
Right.
presenting whichever version of yourself is going to help you accomplish that goal, as
Mhm.
long as it is actually a version of yourself. That's what
Ah,
I think the
keyword.
difference is, right? Like if I am trying to pretend like I like music that I don't like, pretend that I
Mhm.
like food that I don't like, pretend
Right.
like I read things and know things and interact in spaces that I don't actually interact in, and that's not a part of myself. That's when I
Mhm.
think we're getting into an area of, not being authentic.
Mhm.
And so myself, for instance, I can be very like cheerleadery. Okay. Like I know this about myself. I don't necessarily like it. It can be a little embarrassing, but like, if I'm in a space like I'm leading or something, I am very proud. I'm prone to being able to saying something like "Yay!" and like clapping my hands and like
I love it. I
cheering for
love that.
somebody, like being
I love it
super
so much.
bubbly. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm like, calm down. Like, this is my internal speak, like, calm down. You want people to be able to take you seriously, like, take a little of that cheeriness out of your voice and
Mhm.
try to sound serious. But oh my gosh, that's just not who I am. Like I am
Mhm.
very cheery and bubbly and I like emojis, in my sentences and sometimes in my emails. And so when I am trying to like be serious, Ray, and be like what I think a leader is
Mhm.
supposed to look
Mhm.
like, but it's not an authentic part of how I speak and interact, that's
Right.
when I am, really selling myself short and
Mhm.
in trying to be somebody different, and that's just not who I am. And if me being bubbly means that you can't take me seriously, um, that's your problem because you're gonna find out, like I am
Absolutely.
someone taken seriously, whether I, put emojis, in the chat or not. Like you're gonna find
Right.
out the hard way, unfortunately.
I love that. I love that, and it's so funny, Ray, because I used to be a cheerleader. I cheered for undergrad and graduate school, so I
Okay.
understand the need to be like, bring it back. Don't be all,
Right.
but I love that, giving yourself permission to be bubbly, to be you, and leadership. I think, one of the and being transparent, one of the things that I think I struggle with sometimes in leadership as a Black woman is the need to be taken serious. And it's like you want to present yourself in a way where people take you serious. And so sometimes you're struggling because you're like, how do I present myself in a way where I'm authentic to these people, but I'm authentic to myself, but I'm also presented in a way where they take me for who I am. And I think that's a struggle, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. In my position, I'm consistently meeting with higher ups, city, state officials, philanthropists and partners and so forth. And so, when sometimes I'm like that imposter syndrome that we talked about, like, oh my God, I almost dread, and my staff are probably gonna laugh because they've never heard me say this, and they do watch these chats. But I almost dread when they find out I'm the CEO. I don't like telling people that I am, right?
Really?
I don't, Ray, I promise you, if I have to, even if I have to answer a phone, which typically I don't answer phones unless my staff don't pick them up. By the way,
Mhm.
pick up the phones, irate staff. But if my staff don't pick it up and I have to answer a phone, I am not telling them who I am. I am not.
Why? Why is that?
It's that's something I had to really explore. I don't know. But I can tell you why I don't like telling when I'm so, for example, if I'm in a business meeting or a meeting with like a prospective funder and we're about to get like a large sum of funding,
Mhm.
and they say, "Oh, this is great. We love the agency. We want to fund you." And they're like, "So who's the CEO?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh, it's the dreadful question for me." And I
Mm,
think for me, I kind of feel like if I tell them, it's almost like, or they're going to find out and they're going to feel like I'm not qualified, and they're not going
mm.
to give the funding. And so it's almost like this fear that I essentially sometimes live with. I don't know if other Black women deal with that, but I think in leading an agency, I actually had a funder ask me, true story, Ray. we were going through a series of meetings, and they were really excited about the organization and funding it. And then on the side, he pulled me over. Is like, so what's the trick? What's the trick? What you doing? What you doing under the table? I was like, what was happening? What do you mean?
You're like, where am I right now? What's what?
Going on? He's like, no, you're not really running all of this. You're not really doing this. You didn't really start all this. I'm like, actually, yeah.
Oh,
Actually, I
wow.
did from scratch, the ground up. Yes, I did. And so I think sometimes it's like when you have those experiences, first of all, it's like dignity stripping. Let's just say that,
Yeah,
right?
sure. 100%.
But it's also like, why can a Black woman do that? Why is it hard to
Yeah.
believe that a Black woman is leading, and is creative and is innovative and is intelligent? Why is
Well,
it
I
so
mean,
difficult?
but we can and we do, and so for me, like I wear my leadership positions with the badge of honor. One, because I earned it, as
Right.
did you, starting something that has lasted and is impactful in the way that I raise is it's not easy,
Right.
and a lot of people have an idea, but taking that idea from your head to like fruition and it being a thing, like that is commendable. And so part of the reason that I don't shy away from my titles, listen, I said when I earned that doctorate, it may as well be tattooed on my forehead because like I'm putting it down on
Right.
everything. It is Dr. Ray King because I
Yeah,
know the night that I spent being
that's
up to 2
right.
in the morning finishing papers and the things that I turned down with my family and all that kind of stuff. And so yes, I earned it. So part of the reason I don't shy away from those titles is because I earned it, but also because I think the world needs to get used to seeing us as we are. You
I
are the
love
CEO. You know
that.
what I'm saying? Like there's no denying that. And whoever doesn't like it or whoever can't wrap their mind around it, that's not your problem,
That's right.
and I think that part of what we have to do is normalize the
I love
fact that we take up space in these positions, and within these organizations, and like even in our neighborhoods. Girl, one time I had somebody come to my house to
that.
like drop off something, and I answered the door and she says, oh, can you please give this to the homeowner? And I was like, that would be me. I am she. I am the homeowner. Like, how do
Right.
you go to somebody's house and they answer the door and your assumption is, I guess she assumed I was the help or something. I don't know what it
Right.
was, but like, yeah, when the homeowners get home, can you please give this to them? And I was like, I am the homeowner. You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
people need, and I could have just been like, oh, yeah, sure. And, called her all kinds of names behind her back, and just let that be
Mhm.
my private thing. But I wanted her to know because I want her to normalize seeing this body
I
in
love that.
this house, in this neighborhood, and the
Yes,
same in whatever position in which I'm leading. And so
love it.
I embrace it and I hope you will too because you deserve to.
I love that. I just had a therapy session on live with Ray. That was amazing. Yes, I I do. I appreciate that. I definitely do want to own it more, and I will. And I love what you said. It's normalizing Black women in these spaces of leadership, because
Yes.
oftentimes it looks like an anomaly. It's like it doesn't seem right. Why are you leading this? What are you doing in leadership? What did you do to get there? Like, who did you have to sleep? Who did you have to sleep with to get there? Like all these just dehumanizing just assumptions that people
Yeah.
make about Black women in leadership. But we need to normalize seeing Black women in leadership. And so what I also wanted to sort of touch on is the some of the barriers and some of the challenges that Black women in leadership go through. And I know you've been in the public eye, you are consistently overcoming and just being challenged from left to right with all types of things. Can you speak to what some of those challenges have been for you as a
Yeah.
Black woman in leadership? What has it been like for you, and maybe some words of advice for those that may be facing similar things?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, really. I think that there are kind of like the global challenges that are, common to the Black woman experience when it comes to leadership. So much so that me and my girlfriend, as you mentioned, Dr. Blanca Ruiz, we have a whole podcast where all we do is we make space, and you've been a guest on that podcast. We make
Yes.
space for women of color to come and tell their stories and share, because I think that so much of what we go through, we don't know that it's actually a shared experience. One, because maybe you're one of a few in your organization, or maybe you're an only in your organization, and there are not a lot of people for you to say, wait a minute, are you also, did this happen to you? Have you had this experience? And so we
Right.
wanted to create a platform, where we could bring those stories and see the places in which we are having similar experiences, and different experiences, and also learn from each other and feel strengthened by knowing that we're not alone. And so, for me, of course, I've dealt with, having my credentials questioned. And here's the thing, Black women, my one of my daughters sent me this TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I'm kind of on TikTok, not really. I have a
Kind of.
TikTok account because my 23-year-old was so tired of sending me videos that I couldn't watch. So she was just like, just sign up for a TikTok so I can, share videos with you. But she sent me this hilarious TikTok, and it was this Black woman sitting on her couch, and she was like, her thought bubble was like, I'm bored. It's like, I'm going back to school. And then, she went to sign up to look for a school. And it's funny. Obviously, that made my daughter think of me because I up and decided in 2020, I was like, think I'll go get my doctorate. But and
Yes.
while that's great, it's also it can be a trauma response as well, because as Black
Mm.
women, we tend to think we're just not there yet. We're not yet qualified enough. If I had this degree, if I had this certificate,
Mhm,
if I had
mhm,
this
mhm.
experience,
Right.
then I could lead a board, or then I could start an organization, or then I could do this and do that. And we
Right.
always think that we need to be qualified. Mind you, white men in particular, but men in general, they
Mhm,
don't think like
mhm.
that.
Nope.
I tell
Nope.
people, my husband thinks every idea he has is a good idea and should be acted on immediately. Okay. Whereas me, like, I'm plotting and planning and plugging
Yep.
it into this date, and
Mhm,
all like, and men don't struggle like that. And so, I think, when they, for a while, I mean, a little while ago, we were talking about Black women as the most educated group in the country. And
uh-huh.
depending on how you look at the various stats, that can and not be true. But here's what is true. We are about 7% of the population in the United States, but earned 9% of the graduate degrees, more than 9% of the graduate degrees. And so that's why this idea of, we earn more graduate degrees than the percentage of the population than we make up. So that's why people
Mhm,
are saying
mhm,
that Black women are
mhm.
the most educated group in the country. And while it's
Right.
great, we value education. Again, I'm in a doctoral program. A lot of that stems from our belief that we're not good enough yet, and we need the master's, and we need the doctoral degree, and we need the certificate or the endorsement in order to be ready. So, of course, as a Black woman, I struggle with all of those things. I think
Mhm,
that, one of the ways that, well, I won't say that. I think I've had struggles in predominantly white organizations trying to
mhm.
lead, and I've had struggles in predominantly Black and people of color led organizations as well. And they're different struggles,
Yep. Uh-huh.
um and in predominantly white organizations, it's the struggle of not being known, of being tokenized, of being
Mhm.
the only or the one of a few, of being treated like the mule of the organization, where I'm supposed to take on all the work,
Right.
all the missed assignments of other people. I'm supposed to pick up everybody else's slack, and I'm
Mhm.
supposed to do it with a smile on my face, because as a Black woman, I am strong, I am resilient, I am the
Right.
workhorse of this organization, and
Uh-huh.
that's what's
Uh-huh.
expected of me, particularly in predominantly white-led organizations. But in organizations led by people of color, there can be very similar expectations, and oftentimes, you are not respected, because it's almost like there's a level of familiarity there that
Right.
is not always appropriate. And it's like, wait a minute, if I were a white man or
Mhm.
black man, I don't think you would be talking to me like that.
That's
I,
right.
I,
That's
I
right.
think that you are just taking for granted that you know me, or you know my experience because we are both women, or we are both black, or we are both this,
Right.
and not giving me the respect that I am doing, that I've earned. And so just kind of having to put my foot down in that sense, and
Mhm.
take up for myself, and sometimes even leave. I have left an organization about this time last year. I was working in a very toxic situation.
Mhm.
And it was really disappointing to me, because it was a majority people of color led
Mhm.
organization, exclusively, not even majority, 100%. And so I went in expecting a certain experience, and did not have that experience. And it was extremely disappointing, but it was also a learning experience for me, because I knew whatever my next position was going to be, it had to have these certain things that I was looking for, that I now knew that I needed in order to thrive. And that's what my, I guess, failures, if you will, have
Mhm.
taught me. They're all learning experiences, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, this environment doesn't work for me.
Mm.
This type of position, or this domain, or whatever, it's not right for me. And so thank you, universe, for that experience. It was painful,
Mhm.
it sucked, and it hurt, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be better on the back end because of it.
Wow, that's such a there's so much going off in my head right now. I'm thinking of while you're speaking, I'm thinking of similar experiences that I've had,
Mm,
and I'm thinking more specifically about a Black-led organization that I was one of the vice presidents for, that I recently also stepped down from, and it was a very, for me, very dehumanizing experience because it was all Black women, but it was almost like we were complicit in our own oppression towards one
mhm.
another. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize this until I guess a few years back when I was just questioning why are Black women treating me like this? I'm like, no, we're supposed to be like sisters, you know?
Yeah.
But there should be, the struggle. So if anyone's gonna treat you right, you think it'd be Black woman. But sometimes as Black women, we can give the most trouble, right?
I mean, 'cause
As
we're all drinking the same water. There's a woman that, I know, Dr. Darnisa Amante, that really helped me to understand this idea that
Mhm.
when we are existing in a patriarchal, white supremacist,
Mhm.
society and environment, we all are, okay? Not just white folks. We all are. We are all drinking the same water. And so we internalize a lot
Yes.
of those ways of being. We've been made to feel like we have to compete against each other,
Mhm.
because there's only this many opportunities available. And so if
Right,
you get it, Shaniqua, then I'm not going to be able to get it. And so
right.
instead of us coming together, we're made to feel like we have to fight. And to some
Mhm.
degree, honestly, unfortunately, that's true. Organizations, nonprofits led by Black and brown people get a fraction of the funding,
And you are
that
speaking
white
my
led.
language.
Yes, and so
You are
unfortunately,
speaking
we
my
are
language.
all competing for a very small pot, and it's all the result of white supremacy, of course. But we're all drinking that same water. So yeah, unfortunately, like you said, instead of acting as a help to each other, we're often a hindrance.
I just want to take an opportunity to shout out a program officer. Her name is Danielle. And I'm probably going to share this with her. She is program officer for Pinkerton Foundation. And
Mm,
I want to shout her out because I read an article that she wrote very similar to what you just said, Ray, about Black-led nonprofits that get a
yeah,
fraction of funding. And reading her article, it just sparked me wanting to just reach out to her. I wasn't looking for funding or anything. I was just like, girl, like, hello, this is
yeah,
exactly what I've been going through as a Black CEO. It's insane out here.
yeah,
And she took the opportunity to meet with me, and we have a great relationship now. And so she saw me and she heard me, and she's
yeah,
like, yes, this is, I recognize that Black operated nonprofits, especially led by Black women, undergo specific issues and are only getting a very small fraction and
yeah,
are not funded at an equitable level. I mean, the playing field, and this is a whole nother thing. We might need to talk about this another time, but the playing field for Black-led nonprofits, let me tell you, it is a monopoly in nonprofit world. It is a monopoly. Funding goes to the same large white-led organizations, and the ones
Yeah,
that are on the ground, grassroots, doing all the work. All the kids are being referred to these organizations. They're the ones that are less likely to receive the funding. And then you got essentially, I'm going to share this, and I don't know if I even should, if it's politically correct, but I just feel like I should. I'm just going to go with it. Recently, I thank God for my partner too. Brian is probably watching because he's such a support system for me when I have these experiences, Ray, as I'm sure Sean is for you. And I remember it was one Friday. I mean, Ray, it was back to back, like white privilege happening. And I was like, what
mm,
is going on? Every meeting I'm in, like, there's a power struggle with white women that I'm in a
mm,
meeting with, and they're yelling, and I'm like texting my staff, like, are you seeing this? Like, it's white woman against black woman. What are they doing right now? Why are they bullying us? What's
mm,
going on? Like, legitimately happening in professional meetings. I won't say the name of the agency, we'll keep that
mhm.
confidential. But that particular day, I did meet with the state, and it was a meeting so that certain things can move forward with the company. I can't really discuss information, but in that meeting there was a particular woman that was white, and she was legitimately trying to delegitimize our organization as not being equipped to be able to take on a certain responsibility. And the other side was like, but they're great, they're doing great things, look at them, they're amazing. They're doing this. They have a track record. They have evidence-based practice. They have licensed everything. They're certified. We got to give this to them. But this particular woman who was white was just so adamant about the fact that because we're black operated, although she didn't say those words, we just did not qualify for what we've already been doing for 10 years. And I'm like,
Oh,
and I mean, just to sit there, and you got to keep your cool, right? You got to be professional. You cannot
of course, you
call
can't be the angry black woman.
You can't do that. Then you're gonna mess everything up,
That
I
yeah.
mean, so what do? You hold yourself together, right? And you get through it as much as you can in a poised way,
Mhm.
with grace. And you try your best to continue presenting yourself as the intelligent professional that you are. But after that's said and done, you need an outlet.
Yeah,
You need to be able to discuss that experience, because I can tell you that it feels like you're essentially robbed in those moments. And so
yeah.
wondering, like, just tell me your thoughts on that. I know that's like completely unscripted, but like anything that comes to you and just hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the things, so I come from a Christian background, and I know that might not be the background of many of the people who are watching this program, but for me and for so many Black women, our faith has been, a big part of how we have overcome, how we got over is what we used to say in my old school Baptist church. Um, and so for me, like, that is still a part of what I have to tell myself. You asked me earlier about leading in the public eye, and let me tell you, that is not for the faint of heart, okay? Because
Mhm.
as leaders, um there's no playbook for how to as many leadership books that exist, and you can see up here I have a bunch of them myself, and I make reference to them when I need some insight on a particular topic, but there's no one way to lead people or to lead an organization. And so you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be like, oh, a lot of this leadership journey is trial and error. And
Mhm.
then when you have to do that in the public eye, especially in an era of social media where everybody
Right.
gets to have an opinion about everything that you do, it is extra hard, right? Because people have their own narratives that they form, and they take those and they run with them, and then anything you say, any leadership mistake that you make now becomes fodder for public consumption, and people can form whatever narrative they want to form about you, never having met you, never having worked with you, never having done anything with you. And so I say that to say that while that is an extra layer of burden for me. And trust me, listen, I have been denied opportunities because of who I am publicly, or who people think I am, more to the point. You know, and mainly because of who my husband is. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And some of the lightning rod that he can be. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, whether it is experiencing difficulties because I am a public figure, or experiencing difficulties because I'm just having a private leadership struggle, or I'm dealing with racism, you know, like you are. For me, a big part of how I'm able to really deal with that is through my faith, and understanding that, you know, there's a scripture that I love, that count it all joy. I tell myself that
Love it.
all the time, like, count it all joy when men
Oh,
revile you and persecute you and slander you and say all manner of evil against you. Count it all joy, because it is building my character, it is building my faith.
love it.
And so that's just for me personally how I deal with those things. Now, it doesn't make it right. And listen, I am not above telling people about themselves. Okay. We
How do
talked
you do
about,
that? Like, give us some advice. How do you tell someone about
yeah,
themselves in a way that's, in a
it
professional setting? Like,
yes,
that look
the
like?
whole per my last email, you know, kind of thing. My thing is, it's
I
like,
love
you know, I am not going to give you the satisfaction of watching me go off or have a meltdown in the
it.
midst of this situation.
Right.
Um, you know, but when in another moment I will say, you know what, I just want to, you know, thinking about your situation, I would have
Mhm.
no problem following up with that woman and her superior, or whoever else needed to be copied
Right.
on her organization, and
Right.
very professionally letting her know, displaying for her all
Mhm.
the work that my organization has done,
Mhm.
and, you know, maybe even the offense that I thought was warranted, that maybe I took to the insinuation, the suggestion, that, and say, oh, and I'm sure you didn't mean it this way. You can put that in there. You know, I'm sure you didn't mean to come off this way, but this is
Mhm.
how I received it. And maybe it's the educator in me, but I'm always feeling
I love
like people need to be
it.
educated.
Educated.
And
Mhm.
yes, because I don't want you going to my sister over here, and
Mhm.
next time you have a conversation with a Black woman, I just want that to be in the back of your mind. I want you to be a little more careful about what you're saying. And so I kind of take that on as my responsibility. It is not everyone's responsibility
Right.
to educate folks. And I completely believe in that. Like, if you don't have the desire, the capacity, the whatever, then don't.
Mhm.
Let them do their learning themselves. But for me, just giving my role and giving what I believe about educating folks, listen, I will tell you, like, that thing that
Mhm.
you said right there, that wasn't okay. And I'm not trying to say you're a bad person. You
Mhm.
know, I'm sure you're a lovely person, and you
Mhm.
probably didn't even know that you were coming off this way. But
Right.
for your benefit, for the future of your career, I think
Mhm.
this is something that you should be made aware of. I had an incident, girl, when I was the director of equity and learning at City Year. And we went to meet, just like you. I will not say the name of this organization. It's an enormous organization, okay?
Mhm.
Huge
Mhm.
global organization. And we were meeting with their director of equity, you know, their
Mhm.
DEI
Mhm.
person, a white woman. And she had the nerve to White Lives Matter me. No lie. We were sitting
No.
there having a meeting, and their director of equity and inclusion basically,
No.
white lives matter to me. No, not basically. She said it. Don't it was all lives matter, not white lives matter. Let me fix that. It was all lives matter. And I was just like, you know, in that moment, I was so stunned. I didn't quite know what to say, but best believe she got a follow up. There was a follow up conversation where I had to say to her, ma'am, you've got some
Mhm.
work to do. You are
Mhm.
leading a global
Mhm.
organization, and
Mhm.
you sat there and said to me, don't all lives matter? And then proceeded to tell me a story about how you were wronged and disrespected as a white woman at a by Black people at a diversity conference. I don't
Oh,
think
no.
so. Yeah,
Oh,
you've
no.
got work to do. And so I let her know.
these things are real and they're happening every day, Ray. But I love what you say. It's you don't have to sit with that and hold it in. You know, you keep you respond in a way that's professional, obviously, but that
Yeah.
follow up. So for
Yeah.
Black women that may be even going through this, I know a Black woman in leadership now. Oh my goodness, I love her so dearly, but I'm not going to say her name. She goes through extreme oppression just from being a Black woman leading a large agency,
Mhm.
and she's consistently being threatened and harassed and talked to different ways. And I don't really necessarily know if she does speak against it or say something or have those follow-ups like you mentioned. But I think it's important, like we don't have to be disrespected, we don't have to be talked to, we don't
Nope.
deserve to be talked to, and we don't have to take that. So there
No.
is a way to respond, and that
Yeah.
follow-up, like you said, is so crucial. And that
Yeah.
is, I think that's it's a great way to advocate for yourself and to say,
And,
no,
you
it's
know,
not
a lot of this I've learned from this new generation. Like my daughters who are 20 and 23 years old, listen, I don't know what their generation is called. They're not millennials or Generation Z. I don't know what they are.
23, she's Gen Z. She's Gen
Gen
Z.
Z, okay, but they are not for it, okay? Like they're not putting up with the
That's right.
disrespect. I've learned a lot from watching my daughters
Mm,
navigate the world with this sense
I love
of freedom, you know,
mm,
that says I don't have to take that. And it may mean finding another job. And
right.
it may mean leaving a position, which I've done, you know,
Mm,
twice. Okay. I've left a
mhm,
position knowing that it was not right for me and I was not being treated the way I knew I deserved to be treated and wanted to be treated. And yeah, not taking that. And I pick and choose. I'm not gonna go
mhm,
around educating everybody. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
I might suggest a book to some people, and for
I
other
love
people,
that.
I
I love
might lay
that. We
out
need some good
pieces, you know?
suggestions. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And these are all ways that we really we're operating in our place of power, and we're exercising our voice, and we're advocating for ourselves. I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of Black women face, is the ability to advocate for themselves without looking and sounding like the angry Black woman.
Yeah.
It is an extreme challenge for us, but I love that, like suggestion a book or following up through email or bringing the higher ups. And then sometimes, like you said, it just may not be that environment for you. You might just need to leave. Now,
You
we're
might
not
just
telling you to leave your positions, but that may not be. You may need to evaluate, is this a place for me? Is it toxic? You know, I remember being on a job before I went full time with my agency, Ray. It was a state, of course, I can't say the agency within the
Mhm.
state, but it was with the state of New York. And I can remember going through so much oppression as a Black woman, and I was like, this is so unhealthy for me because it was messing up my mental health. I was
Yeah.
in and out of urgent care because of the effects it was having on my body. And I was like, I gotta
Yeah.
get there. And guess
Yeah.
what I did? I left. And it was the best decision of my life. I would do it
100%.
1,000 times again.
Yes, like we have options, and I don't mean to speak like I realize that in some ways I'm speaking from a place of privilege because I am in a two income household, and I have had the flexibility at different times to leave positions that I felt weren't serving me, and I understand that everybody doesn't have that. But if you are not there now, then your task is, and we just did a conference about this, building your portfolio life, because I think a lot of times as Black women and other women of color, we don't give ourselves permission to dream and to
Yeah.
envision and say, what do I want my life to look like? Like, what do I
Yeah.
want my day to day to look like? You know, how
Yeah.
much time do I want to have available to my children or to my spouse? Where do I want to spend my time? And we did a whole conference about building your portfolio life. And so maybe you're not in a position right now. Maybe you know that your current place of work is not a part of building your best portfolio life, but you're not necessarily in a position to do anything about it right now. Your
Mhm.
task is to start thinking about how you get there,
I
how
love
you
it.
make those moves, you know, looking for a different place of work, or like you, what can I start?
Mhm.
And maybe I don't start it today, but maybe I started 3, 6, 9 months, a year from now, but that you're
Mhm.
getting yourself in that position, because I promise you, I have never regretted leaving a toxic situation, whether it was a
Mhm.
friend. whether it was a job,
Mhm.
whatever it was, I have never regretted it. And we're talking so much about mental health. That is a part of it. When you know a place isn't serving you and you are dealing with sexism and you're dealing with racism, we don't have to deal with that. There was a
Not.
time when maybe our parents or our grandparents or our great
Mhm.
grandparents, when they
Mhm.
didn't have so many options and they had to bite their tongues in order to
Mhm.
be able to continue putting food on the table or whatever. And I get that and I honor them for being
Right.
able, for making those decisions so that I could be here and make a different decision for my life, you know? And so that's what I would encourage people to do, because when I left my job, it was this past spring. I didn't have anything else. I just knew, like, okay, today is the last day. I am not doing this anymore. Like, we are
Yep.
done.
Yep.
I didn't have anything else lined up. And then it took me to August to find a place. And when I tell you it is the exact right place, it is exactly where I belong. I am thriving. I feel like I love the people that I get to work with. I love the work that I get to do. But if I had not left that other place, I would not have been open to or available to receive this other opportunity. And so that is what I would encourage folks, um, especially Black women, because we have such a strong sense of responsibility, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like I have things I have to take care of. I have bills I have to pay. I have people who are depending on me, and
Mhm.
we take that sense of responsibility and we carry it and we wear it, and that's great. My mom
Mhm.
did it, and God knows I'm grateful to her that she did that. But also, my mom is well into her 60s now and is just now in a place where she's living for herself, where she's doing the
Wow.
things that she wants to do. She went back to college and earned her associate's degree and is now working on
Amazing.
her bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
And I'm saying,
mom.
yes, I'm so proud of her, but what would her life have looked like if she didn't have to wait until she was in her 60s to do that?
Mm.
And I'm saying,
Wow.
Black women, you have permission to dream.
Love that.
One of the women who is one of my mentors, like, she literally dreamt of a life where she got to spend her summers abroad. And
Yeah.
she left the job that she was working in, and she was like, I'm only going to accept opportunities that fit in this life that I've envisioned for myself. And now sis is like teaching summer classes in Italy to
I
like a
love
leadership
that.
cohort of Black folks. I'm saying that all came from her giving herself permission to dream of something different. And yeah, I'm trying to do that same thing.
I love that. I mean, I would love to be overseas every summer. You're gonna have to
Right?
build the program, the organization plan. So list
Yeah.
those. We're gonna have to figure out how to get me overseas every summer because I love to do that. But I love, Ray, what you said is give yourself permission to dream. And
Yes.
somewhere, somehow through life, we forgot how to dream. We stopped
Yes.
dreaming. Sometimes it's because of life gets a hold of you, and sometimes just so much that you're battling with and trauma that you're trying to overcome. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're in a place where we're just trying to survive. We're like, how are we going to dream? We just try to make it, just trying to survive. But I
Yeah.
love that. No matter where you are right now, it doesn't matter what you make, your income, whether you're a single mom or a single dad or two-parent house, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It does not have to dictate where your future is going to be. So
100%.
I love what you said. Give yourself permission to dream. You deserve to dream. You deserve to live the life of your dreams. Sometimes it's not
Yes.
just dreaming, but it is also believing I can and I deserve to live the life of my dreams. And I think Black
Yeah.
women, yes, that is a message for us. And I
Yes.
I love that. Give yourself permission to dream.
Because the world tells us something other than that, right? Like I said, there's so much research that talks about how we're expected to be the mules
Mhm.
of this country. And even when I hear things like, and of course it's meant to be a compliment, oh, Black women, we saved the Democratic Party. And I'm like, for what? We don't
Right.
owe them that. What, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And here I'm getting very political.
That's
And
okay.
I vote Democrat, so I'm not trying to pretend like I don't, but I'm saying,
Right.
what is that message though? The message there is we
Mhm.
need you to shoulder the burden of all the things that we are unwilling to do. We need you to
Wow.
save us. And
Mhm.
organizations treat us the same way. We get these
Yeah.
glass cliff assignments. You see it
Mhm.
when Starbucks brings in a black woman to fix all of their,
Mhm.
racist mess
Mhm.
up. You see it when all these failing organizations, all of a
Mhm.
sudden now they're bringing us in as the cleanup woman, and they're giving
Yep.
us these glass cliff assignments where where failure is almost assured, and then they can say, well, look, we tried the diversity thing, we hired
Right.
that black woman,
There
but
were.
it didn't work. But what kind of organization did you
Right.
hire her into? A building that was already on fire, you know? And
Uh-uh.
so the message is, we're the cleanup woman, we're the fixer, we make everything okay. And I'm saying we can reject that and say,
That's right.
actually,
We
no.
reject that.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Reject it and say, I'm living for the life that I want and that I've envisioned, and that may or may not include helping this failing place or
Mhm.
supporting these people. Or it may or may not include that, but I'm living
Mhm.
a life that I've designed on purpose for myself. And it's not about being your cleanup woman, you know?
I love it. We reject, we're not cleanup woman. We're not the mule. We're not the
Right.
token. We
Right.
we literally we are publicly denouncing that
Yes.
over us and every other black woman, and we encourage every black woman to do the same. Don't accept that. That's not our story. That's not our testimony. That is not the life that we have to live. And
That's
you're
right.
absolutely right. Black women, I was just reading an article right before we got on. Black women, especially in this country, we fought for civil rights. We led the way steadily for centuries. We were the ones leading the Underground Railroad, the suffrage movement. We organized freedom riders and paved the way for constitutional protection against sex discrimination.
Yeah.
We've done so much. We've been the most consistent voting bloc in the U.S. To stand up for the rights of marginalized people. We have been doing it, but we are not the mules. So
Right.
we can reject that notion and not accept it. And I think it's important to say that out loud because
Yes.
sometimes we internalize these men. You said something, Ray.
Yeah.
Your mentor said we all are drinking from the same, was it Kool-Aid or something? We're all drinking. I'm
We're all
blacking it
drinking the same water, but
up.
Kool-Aid works.
I'm blacking it up. The same Kool-Aid. Like we drink the same water or Kool-Aid or whatever it is. But because we're all drinking from the same water, we're internalizing it too. So sometimes
Yes.
we may even take on this self-fulfilling prophecy that I don't
Oh,
deserve. I have to be the mule. I have to
yeah.
be the and this is the only way. When in
Yeah.
reality, that is not true. Like Ray's 23-year-old daughter, we gotta learn to navigate the world with freedom because that is
Yes.
the life that we deserve.
Yes, that is our inheritance, whether we know it or not. We get to, there are things that people will try to put on us. And I love this at the conference that we just hosted. And if anybody, that conference was recorded, and I'm happy to share that with you, Shanequa, so that you can share it out to folks, because there were some really dynamic speakers. And one of them was a woman named Tiffany Hawkins, and she did our financial segment. And she talked about all the negative statistics about Black people and Black women and money that exist out there that we take on and start to believe. And she was like, I want to dispel that. Black women, you are good with money. When you start businesses, they work. When
Yeah.
you decide to invest, you invest well. And she wasn't just like, and she came with the facts, she came with the numbers to prove it, right? And so
Right.
we have an inheritance of freedom, an inheritance of joy, an inheritance of prosperity,
Yes.
regardless of what statistics and all the things that this country will try to put on us. That does not have to be our story. And so yeah, I know we didn't necessarily even come on here to talk about that, but
I love
it
I
was
love
it was actually my
that.
Black woman therapist who helped to kind of set me free from that
Wow.
thinking. And she's always questioned me, like, why do you think you have to do that? Who told you that you had to take that on? why
Right.
why do you feel the need to take care of those people? Aren't your hands full
Wow.
already? Like,
Wow.
I was like, oh
And
yeah.
it's so intergenerational, right? Because we've been our ancestors. This goes, this is so deep, like within our bloodline and our ancestry, in terms of the need to feel like we have to be the help and take care of everyone, and be the one to handle everything, and we don't.
Yeah.
We
No.
have to be set free, like you were, all of us, every Black woman, every woman of color, we have to work, because it's going to require work, right? Because a lot of this stuff is internalized, that we've learned
Yes.
to live with. So we have to challenge our own selves, challenge our own thinking, challenge our own emotions, and we have to push past that and be set free from that, so that we can live in freedom. That is really our inheritance. Like you said, it's a life that
Yeah.
we deserve to live. So
Yeah.
we are like way over, but Ray, give us some last minute wisdom nuggets, or anything that you can leave for Black women in leadership that's watching, that may just feel like they're in that place that we talked about, dealing with all these obstacles, but are really just in need of some kind of encouragement. What words would you leave for those
Yeah,
women?
I would say think about what you do well and operate from that vantage point, right? And so, like I was making fun of myself earlier because I'm so bubbly and cheerleadery, but you know what? That also made me realize like I'm really good with people. I'm
Yeah.
really great at building relationships because I'm so down to earth, because I have this southern accent that's not going anywhere. So
Nope.
no matter how long I live in the city, it's not leaving. Because I am bubbly and cheerful, I put people at ease
Yeah.
and I build really great relationships. And so now I lead with that, right? I lead from a place of fun. If you come to one of my board meetings, you're going to hear like some, what is it? We have a song that we chose. I think it's like an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. And like that's
Love
what's
it.
going to be playing as everybody logs in. And then when we are celebrating something great that happened, I'm gonna play the celebrate good times. Come on, like I'm gonna
Love
do
it.
all of those things that aren't serious, that don't
Right.
make me seem like a hard line, super respectable person. But that's not me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm going to lead from what my strengths are. And I was an elementary school teacher, and so I carry that energy, even into my leadership positions now. But also I am prepared. You know what I'm
Love it.
saying? Like I am never going to come to a meeting and not know the topic and not know as much as I can know about that topic and not be prepared to speak intelligently, to make decisions that are based on research and sound practices. And so you can do both. And so
Love it.
whatever your gift is, whatever to be true about you, don't try to be somebody else. Lead from those things, and the right opportunities will make room for you. So that's what I'll leave you with.
I love that, Ray. I love that. Just sum it up, leading from a place of what you're strong at, and I think also it's a recognition. It's recognizing your skills, your strengths, and embracing it, and then
Mm,
leading from that place. Don't hide your strengths. That's another whole nother thing where we Black women sometimes we feel like we have to dumb ourselves down,
yeah.
or we have to hide our strengths or hide our skills, or similar to what I said, hide the fact that I'm the CEO of an organization sometimes, right? But which is completely bananas. It doesn't happen all the time, but we had our therapy session. I got you, Ray. Um, but absolutely leading from a place of our strengths, recognizing it, and embracing it, and not being afraid to
Yes.
showcase it, because that's who we are.
Yeah.
And bringing that sound, the sound practice, and all and ensuring that we are prepared. But I love those. I think those are such rich wisdom nuggets. And in fact, if I got that advice 10 years ago, I don't know, I feel like I would have been so much
Mhm.
further. But if I had someone to tell me those things, this is why we need mentorship. We need
Yeah.
Black women mentoring young Black girls, so that
Yeah.
they have this information and they don't make the mistakes and errors that we made as we were, just going through all types of things, trying to navigate through these
Yes.
different fields and industries. So I love that. I appreciate you so much, Ray. You are super amazing. You're a gift to the world. And I'm excited about all that you're doing, and especially with the leadership, the Women in Leadership Collaborative
Yes,
program that
I
you're
will send
launching.
you information about that when we do launch it. Super excited to create this space for Black women who are leading at a really high level to come together, share our experiences, grow our practice even. And yeah, Blanc and I are hoping to launch that in January. So I'll make sure you have that info.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much. And If those that are not following Ray King, please do follow her on Instagram. She does a lot of great work. She has the Walk podcast. Did I say it right?
Woke at work.
Woke. Oh, I got to get it together. Come on now.
It's so weird. It looks like walk. We thought it was a great idea at the time, but it's hard to say.
Well, I like it. The work
Woke at
podcast.
work podcast.
Woke woke at work. I'm gonna get that name. Work at work. I'm gonna work on that.
Okay.
Outside the live, but she has an amazing podcast, so definitely check it out and follow her work, follow the great things that she's doing, especially for women of color. She's super great, and especially with her new role. Again, congratulations. I don't know if I publicly said it, but congratulations again for taking on
Oh,
that new
thank
role. I'm
you.
sure that wherever you are, you're going to be able to do great things and change things for our kids, our parents, and for the education industry. So thank you for all that you do, Ray. We hope to have you back on. I
Thank
know you're
you,
super busy,
Shanequa.
but we appreciate you. And those that are watching, get out to vote. Do
Yes,
not forget it's election day, so please exercise your right. We have no business sitting in the house or going to the supermarket or going to the mall and not voting. Go and vote if you have not yet done so. It is our right, it is our privilege that our ancestors has fought for us to have. So please exercise it. And again, thank you, Ray. I appreciate you so much, and
thank
God bless
you.
you, your beautiful children, and your family. And hopefully, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you all for watching. And we'll be back on Thursday this week. So please stay tuned. And thank you all for supporting us, for following our content. Continue to spread the message so that we can get it out. Black women, if you were touched by this message or if something resonated with you, we definitely want you to let us know. If there are topics that you want to see covered that are not covered, please also let us know so that we can include that in. We appreciate all of you so much. God bless you. Stay safe. And until we meet again, we'll see you soon.